little dry, it adds to that. And so I think we'll see this expanded out, don't you, for tomorrow?
Yeah, especially because the impacts. And for folks that don't understand, the drought monitor, I think sometimes is one of the most, I don't want to say confusing, but a lot of folks think it's just strictly rain because like, oh, we have plenty of rain. How could we be in drought? The drought monitor is really an impact product, right? It's about what are the impacts? Are there water shortages? Are stream flows low? Is the soil moisture low? And really one of the biggest one is agricultural impacts. And as you mentioned, Tim, you know, if farmers are having dry fields or they're having yield issues because of dry weather, that's going to raise the drought monitor. And something we've got to keep a close eye on, and this is something I am going to watch closely, we're getting into that secondary fire season here in the fall, the wildfire season.
Yep.
When the leaf drop starts to happen, you have a lot of fuels because the vegetation goes dormant and it starts to get windy here in the Carolinas. So if we stay dry, we've got leaves, the normal dry vegetation in the fall, but we've got all this timber from Helene, which has now been sitting out for a year and is what we call seasoned. It's become dried firewood. So that's another impact we're going to have to watch carefully. I don't want to see a tropical system per se, Tim, but it'd be nice to get a nice little wedge maybe and some nice drizzly, misty weather for a couple days like we had in early August, which was kind of nice to kind of soak things a little bit without causing flooding. But tomorrow will be an interesting day, and I'm sure it'll be a big topic of our show tomorrow as we talk about this expansion of the drought. And as a homeowner and a lawn grower, this is frustrating because you're trying to overseed and aerate your lawn right now. And you want some moisture, but you don't want too much. It's like we're picky, you know, because you don't want to wash your seed away. But this is a time of year people are trying to get their lawn to recover from the summer heat. And the last thing you want is a drought going into the fall.
It's true. That was the bummer with yesterday. We were hoping to maybe get up in my area about half an inch of rain. That was kind of the model consensus. We didn't get a drop, right? Yeah. So it's another swing and a miss with that low kind of moving a little north and east. We'll likely see that the dry weather problems just continue.
Yeah. With 30 seconds to go in the show. Yeah. Where our runners are coming across the finish line at Carolina.
Ooh.
At the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
All right. Run through the line. Run through the line.
You gotta
go. Come on. Finish strong. I'm going to see someone do donuts now. Still burnout.
Confetti falls. Yeah, there you go. All right, well, that does it for our extended edition of Live Impact. Oh, Fluffy was the name of the three-headed monster, thanks to one of our viewers.
Fluffy, that's
who texted
right.
that in.
That was such a tranquil name.
Oh, good. Fluffy.
Yeah.
Ironic.
Was it Monster X? Was it Godzilla monster? I don't know. We'll think about it. But we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in tonight for our long version of Weather Impact.
Good evening, folks. Thanks so much for joining us for Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be together till 9 o'clock tonight, taking a look at the biggest headlines from around the area. Of course, as we're coming up on the one-year mark very soon of Hurricane Helene devastating western North Carolina, we continue to tell the stories of recovery. One of those stories happening today as EPA officials have visited Lake Lure to take a look at the progress. I myself actually went to Lake Lure several days ago. I'll be putting together a piece to run during our week-long special coverage of Helene next week. But I can tell you the immense work they've been doing, monumental. 7 days a week, 12-hour days since October of last year, just trying to dredge the lake and get those water levels back up to speed so the lake can reopen. But let's get now to the update from EPA officials having visited this town along with others in western North Carolina, what they see the progress there is.
Well, let me start by just introducing myself. I'm Kevin McCumber. I'm the regional administrator for EPA Region 4, which is the 8 states in the southeast that includes North Carolina. And we wanted to come up here today to mark the anniversary of the 1 year from the Hurricane Helene event that devastated this area. And for those that are familiar with this area, it's absolutely beautiful. And to come here today and to check on the progress that's being made has been very impactful. This was my first time coming here, although I had seen pictures. To see it in person is much different than what you see on TV or what you might be sent on your email, seeing social media, things like that. And the massive size of the recovery is really overwhelming. I mean, I feel for the people here. We are doing a lot and have done a lot to try to help with the situation, and we're going to continue to do what we can to help. There's a lot of big projects going on right now that are going to take a long time, and not only the EPA but the Corps of Engineers and FEMA, we're all working together. We like to call it cooperative federalism to try to help solve problems, and it's clear that there's still a lot of problems here, so we want to do our part to help.
From an environmental aspect, what are some of your biggest concerns from what you have seen today?
Well, the EPA is mostly and primarily concerned with clean water. That's a big issue. We also are concerned with clean air and clean land, and really all three of those issues can be a factor here with the devastation that's occurred. But I would say, removing the debris is certainly a big part of what's going on here still. You can see a lot of that right behind us. What's going on with the dam and some of the sanitary sewer projects that we've talked about today are also quite important.
And it's not just Lake Lure or Old Fort that have dealt with some of those sewer projects. I mean, a lot of these mountain communities were hit that way. So how tough is that going to be to really get all of those back up to speed?
Well, we haven't stopped in every town, but we've been to quite a few of them. And every situation is very unique, and every need is very different. Populations are different, and this is not a big community. And when you look at the amount of need that's here, and trying to see that on the backs of the residents that live here makes it very challenging.
Yeah, I know you still got a couple more stops on your tour, but what has been the most impressive thing that you've seen when it comes to the progress made since Helene?
Well, I would just point to what's behind us. I mean, I was told there's over 1 million tons of sediment that's trying to be removed from this site and from other areas of the lake, and that a lot of that's being trucked 60 miles. And that's a massive operation, bigger than most projects, regardless of whether it's a planned project or as a result of a hurricane.
My last question for you, though, too. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, though, too. Is how is it important for you guys and your organization to make sure that there is some normalcy brought back to this community following what happened from a year ago? Really?
Well, for most people that are in this business, we're not doing it for the money. We're in it for trying to be helpful and to make a difference. And Janine Gettle, our deputy regional administrator, is with us. She's been working for the EPA for 39 years, and it's really part of her life and trying to help folks. And I have not been with the EPA as long. I joined under the current administration, the new Trump administration, and Lee Zeldin paid a visit here back in January, and he was quite impressed with the vastness of the damage that had occurred. And so we're back up here again, marking that 1-year anniversary, and checking on the progress and seeing what additional needs still exist.
When you go back, I mean, what is it that your office can provide when it comes to some of these smaller towns to deal with some of those sewer infrastructure issues? Or are you going to go and push for even more funding to come this way?
So Congress approved some funding probably about 6 months ago, and there's a process we have to go through to allocate that to each of the states. And just recently we had approximately $800 million made available to the state of North Carolina, and North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality is working with each of the local communities that are interested in getting assistance, and so that's really what's going on up until now, and we will continue to work on those sort of projects as funds become available.
I know that some of these towns are starting to look a lot better than they had been before, but now that you've been on the ground and you've been able to see it, I mean, compared to other environmental disasters, how hard was Helene hitting this area?
This is as significant as I've seen in my life. Now there's all kinds of disasters, right? Hurricanes, one form of them. We've been to flooding sites. We got to see our mobile lab for water testing in action in eastern Kentucky a while back, where we saw a chest freezer 30 feet up in the trees. I'm sure you had similar things here that you were able to see. So coming back now, you don't see the debris in the trees. I mean, there has been progress. You do have people that are back on water once again, and being able to find some form of normalcy to their lives. But to see it return to what it was is I'm sure what everyone's goal is. And there's a long road ahead still.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I'm just very thankful that you all would entertain having us here today. It's great to be welcomed, and we want to stay in touch and do what we can to help you.
Last name and your title as well, sorry.
Yes, Olivia Stuman, I'm the town manager for Lake Lure.
How excited are you about the progress that Lake Lure and the entire Hickory Neck Gorge has been able to make in this time?
I am very pleased with the progress that we've made so far. Being here every day, being boots on the ground, looking from the outside in, I'm sure it's hard for people to see the progress that's been made because there was so much damage, and you can still see that. But being here and seeing what our staff as well as the other agencies we've been working with have been able to accomplish in this amount of time is very, very encouraging.
And I know that, when we've been talking today and going through all of these tours, you guys talked about the work that you were doing before for the dam, for the sewage plant, to look at all of that, but these have been drastically impacted, especially by this storm. So how much has this become kind of a dire situation to really get that funding moving and to make progress on that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we had old infrastructure pre-storm, of course, but the damages that were incurred due to the storm have exacerbated all needs for our infrastructure, so especially our sewer and dam. So we're working each day to try to find funding and working with our engineers that y'all heard from today to continue moving forward to try to replace those systems and be where we need to be.
And especially for a town like you guys that is so small when the tourists aren't here. That's a lot to be paying for when you're talking about the millions for some of these projects. So how much is it, to get that support from everyone so that people can come keep enjoying these places forever?
Yeah, so for the sewer system and the wastewater treatment plant combined, we're looking at about $135 million. For the dam, about $100 million. And for a community this size, that is not something that we can do alone. So we're working with DEQ, EPA, NCEM, FEMA, any agencies that will help us out. We're trying to partner with, and we think that if we can put all of our resources together, we can actually make this happen.
Anything else you want to say?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And so once again, hearing there from EPA as well as the town manager of Lake Lure on all of the work they've been doing to try to get the actual lake itself reopened. Now, as we come up on almost a year since Helene devastated that area, our Miles Harris was among those. You heard kind of asking questions of the officials. He joined our Nick Sturdivant earlier today on Live Impact News to kind of give us an idea of more the context behind the visit here from EPA and what we need to know about what's going on in Lake Lear. So let's listen in.
It's hard to believe. Every time I say it, it's hard to believe that it has been nearly a year since Hurricane Helene swept through the Carolinas, badly damaging western North Carolina. It is a story, and the recovery of western North Carolina is something that we've covered extensively and that we continue to cover. This is our community. This is a place, this is an area that we are totally invested in, just like you guys are at home. And we always love to check. We continuously check in, and we've been doing stories leading up to the anniversary, and we'll have more on the actual anniversary about the recovery. But we want to send it now to Miles Harris, who was there at Lake Lure. So Miles, you're there because, again, the recovery efforts continue, and today local officials and federal officials were there assessing that damage.
Yeah, Nick, I know you mentioned that as far as us always checking in this community. It's like my 5th time out here this month. But yeah, it's an awesome thing to make sure that we're keeping track of this community, seeing the recovery efforts and making sure that there is still progress that is being made and making sure that this community can really feel some of that sense of normalcy. Like you said, a year since Hurricane Helene had really struck this part of western North Carolina. So right now, yeah, we were at Lake Lure, and we actually got a chance to see some of those federal leaders with the EPA in particular really take their rounds throughout parts of Lake Lure, especially the very popular areas here. We got to see them at Morris Park, where we're standing right now. We also saw them check out the Lake Lure Beach, and we also saw them check out the Lake Lure Dam as well. And so those are some of the really popular areas here when it comes to tours, when it comes to the people that live in the community as well. And so they're obviously still trying to build that sense of normalcy and trying to make sure that those areas, specifically even that dam in particular, get back to normal. But again, there's still a lot of work that needs to be made when it comes to making sure that that can make sure that it has a long lasting impact and resiliency, and making sure that it can stay intact, not just for the near future now, but also for the long-term future, Nick, which is also part of why the EPA was here, right? Seeing the progress that was made since that storm and since that hurricane had made its way through this area here too. But part of that is more than just the work that's being done here, as you can kind of see behind me here. Again, this is Morris Park. This is some of the area that's still kind of being put back together here. I'll step to the side so you can actually see my photographer Will kind of show you some of the work in trying to build this place back up. But part of the work is not just the recovery and the construction that's being done right now. Funding is needed, right? And so when it comes to an area like Lake Lure, that's a smaller town, there's only so many resources that they can use and exhaust up to this point. And so part of what they're doing right now is obviously highlighting the progress that's being made, but also that reminder that work is still being needed, especially when it comes to those resources and those finances, Nick, which is also a big piece on why the EPA was out here today. They'll look at the progress, but also hopefully see that they can make sure that they've seen what needs to be done as well when the continuing efforts are made out here, Nick.
And Miles, there was no exaggeration on your part. You've been out there several times. I can't even count the amount of times you've been out in the year since Helene happened. For you, walk us through, before I let you go, and I know you're busy out there, what has this past year been like, seeing that recovery at each stage?
Honestly, it's surreal. I remember literally standing, and we've talked about it on stream and also off stream as well. Going back to Boone in particular, me and a photographer at the time we were actually there in downtown Boone, and we remember literally seeing the water from the storm make its way through Appalachian State, through downtown Boone, and to kind of see where we are now. And I've covered so many pieces of it, whether it's downtown Boone, whether it was the Christmas event that they had just down the road with Lake Lure trying to connect Chimney Rock, seeing them try to find that normalcy, hearing from people in this community, still seeing parts and pieces that still need work on. It's so surreal to see the progress that's really been made out here, seeing the devastation that it created, but also seeing how much of this community is really coming together, seeing resources even from western North Carolina outside of it come back, try to build this back together. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, like we've always talked about here. But when I go specifically even down the road and looking at that Lake Lure Beach where that popular historic hotel is, it's so weird to kind of see the beach with no water in it, right? And still seeing it hopefully get back to a point where people can be familiar with it. It's still a work in progress, but again, Nick, the word that really comes to mind to me is really surreal on the progress that's being made, but obviously there's still a road ahead as well with the work that's being done and needed out here as well, Nick.
Man, well said, Miles. Well said, and great work that you've been doing. Make sure you check out Miles's work on our digital platforms. You can see dozens of his stories that he's done. There's no exaggeration on my part. Miles, thank you for your time. You can catch Miles at 4:30 and at 6:15. Miles, be safe, and again, thank you for your time, man.
And we'll just remind you once again that we'll be having all sorts of Helene coverage as we get into next week with special coverage, including, if I can weigh in, with some of my visit recently to Lake Lure. We talk about how the lake is essentially the lifeblood of the town, and the fact that while the town itself is open, they don't have a commercial district. Everything kind of revolves around the recreational aspect of the lake. The fact that the lake has been closed for now a year has really taken a toll on the town. So they've had to look at different ways that they can kind of market themselves, if you will, to let folks know that you can still come here. We're working on the lake. We're going to get it back up and running. They talk about their golf courses, the fact that they have great leaf peeping trails, and then, of course, come to the town itself and spend some money, which will certainly help those small businesses. Really staggering to think, 1 million cubic yards of debris and silt has already been removed from Lake Lure since those crews have been doing that work. And we talked about the fact this has been a 7-day round-the-clock operation. Basically, these crews have been working 12 hours each day, every single day since October, we're told. Those trucks, when we were visiting, they were coming out of those sites, truck by truck. Every single minute we saw new trucks. And they're basically taking all of the silt and debris to different sites, but essentially if they find, for example, pieces of homes or man-made debris, they go to a landfill in Union County, South Carolina. They take all the vegetative material. We actually saw some crews working behind Miles's shoulder, moving, tree branches and pieces of trees, large trees. That goes to an area behind Lake Lure Fire Department where they dispose of that accordingly. And then any mulch will be going to a landfill in Canton, North Carolina. So this is a really precise operation where they have places where everything goes. And some good news, they actually think that they are just a couple of weeks away from finishing the debris efforts, and then they'll start to raise the levels of the lake, because the lake at this point, we're told, is around 30 feet below its normal levels. It's full pond, as they call it. So they say that once they get it up to about 12 feet below full pond, they can have all those competitive rowing teams come back. They hope to do that in March. And then in May, full pond, which I believe is 990 feet above sea level, and that will be when they can have the full public. So maybe in May, hopefully. And they'll be really excited, we know, to have the public to be able to get back out on that water. All right, so folks, of course, I kind of digressed there. I was really just excited to get with the town officials and hear about how things were going. And we're really excited to pass on more of that progress that they've made next week, once again, with one of the pieces that I'm working on. We have, meantime, a quick break to take. We want to let you know we've been following very closely that scene involving officers in York County, Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, once again, we brought this as breaking news to you in the 3 o'clock hour of Live Impact News. Sadly, we've learned this evening that 3 officers are dead. We're going to be back in 2 minutes with all we know about the situation. Thanks for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. As we mentioned before we went to break, we want to get to the very latest on this breaking news we've been following out of Codorus Township, Pennsylvania throughout the afternoon. This is also York County, Pennsylvania. We just wanted to clarify it is Pennsylvania. I know here in the Carolinas we have a York County that we cover, but this is a situation where we're hearing, sadly, 3 law enforcement officers have lost their lives, 2 others wounded after a shooting that happened while police were apparently trying to serve a warrant. Officials just gave a briefing several moments ago. We want to listen in for the very latest on this.
Good evening. My name is Colonel Christopher Paris. I serve as the Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police. I'm going to address you this evening concerning a critical incident that has rocked the community here in York County this afternoon. The incident occurred in Codorus Township, York County. I'd like to preemptively say that there are many details which at this point we are not prepared to release given the ongoing nature of the investigation. That having been said, we would like to advise the community that there is no current active threat. The situation today involved law enforcement officers who were shot. I can confirm that the shooter is dead. I can confirm that there were 5 law enforcement officers who were shot today. 3 fatally, 2 that were transported here to Wellspan in York. They are currently listed in critical but stable condition. The District Attorney of York County, who is no stranger to this community, or in collaborating with the Pennsylvania State Police, Tim Barker, I've spoken to him. The Pennsylvania State Police has been asked to convene a major case team to conduct the lead in this investigation with the assistance and in collaboration and in partnership with the York County District Attorney. I can assure you that all of the resources of the Pennsylvania State Police are being brought to bear. There is still very much an active scene at Codorus Township, York County. Later this evening, the District Attorney will have more information to release. I can tell you that the Pennsylvania State Police have taken over calls for service for the Northern York Regional Police Department, and we will continue to do so to support our partners. I can tell you that I've spoken to the special agent in charge of the FBI out of Philadelphia, our municipal partners and county partners here in York County, and we've received multiple offers of assistance from our fellow state partners to include New Jersey and York. But we have a very large investigative scene. In being here today with our law enforcement family for the second time in 2025, I'd just like to say on a very personal note, our hearts and prayers go out to them, to the families of the deceased and the families of those officers who were wounded. There are simply no words that I can offer to assuage the grief that this community has experienced and unfortunately will continue to experience. The grief will be unbearable, but we will bear it. So we stand here today united for our partners all across the law enforcement spectrum, and we will not rest until we've conducted a full, fair, competent, and thorough investigation into this matter. Lastly, I would simply ask to the community here in York County and beyond, all across Pennsylvania and all across our nation, if you could keep the families that were touched by this tragedy today in your thoughts and prayers. Please give them a solemn thought. And to the women and men who are working diligently right now to push this incident forward and the investigation forward and the aftermath that will have to be dealt with and persevered through, our hearts and prayers are with them. Thank you very much. I'll now turn it over to Governor Shapiro.
This is an absolutely tragic and devastating day for York County and for the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We grieve for the loss of life for 3 precious souls who served this county, served this Commonwealth, and served this country. And we continue to pray for the full recovery of those who are dealing with their wounds. This, of course, is on the heels of just a few months ago when we lost another York County son, Officer Duarte, who again gave his life in the line of service. I had the opportunity with the Lieutenant Governor and with Senator Phillips Hill, Representative Grove, and your 3 county commissioners to spend some time with the families of those who have been impacted by this violence today. I think it's important for you to know that these families who are dealing with, they're grieving right now and they're suffering right now, took time to tell us how proud they are of their loved ones who put on a uniform to keep us safe. It's an extraordinary thing that these law enforcement families do. They support the individual who puts on the uniform and runs toward danger. They're there for them when they leave in the morning, and they pray throughout the day that they will come home at night. So I hope as this community comes together, as I know it knows how to do, and prays, that we think not just about those who wear the uniform, but those who stand behind and next to those who wear the uniform every day. These families are extraordinary, and I hope you'll join me in prayer for them. I had some time to spend with the law enforcement who are gathered here today, who ran here because they knew that their brothers in uniform were in danger or their lives were cut short. And I'll just share with you what I told them. The entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania respects them, and we have their backs. And we so appreciate the work that they do every single day when they go out to keep us safe, when they go out to protect our freedoms and our rights. This is something that, sadly, we only tend to share in times of tragedy. I think it is important that this Commonwealth knows that every day we appreciate those who put on the uniform and those who keep us safe. There are others here at WellSpan who wear different kind of uniforms. And I want to say thank you to the doctors, to the nurses, to the staff here at this extraordinarily wonderful healthcare institution that sadly has seen too much trauma. But thanks to their extraordinary talents and their dedication to their neighbors, they're able to help people get back up on their feet. That's what you did today for these 2 brave souls who put on a uniform to keep us safe. And so we appreciate those of you who don the white coat and the scrubs, those of you who support the work that they do. You truly are wonderful people, and we appreciate you very, very much. I want to let you know that Attorney General Pam Bondi reached out directly to me and shared with me that we have the full support of the federal government. I know, as Colonel Paris indicated before, he has spoken to the lead of the FBI here in this region. We so appreciate law enforcement at every level, and we, of course, appreciate our federal partners. General and I worked together when I was Attorney General here in Pennsylvania. She was the Attorney General in Florida. It meant a lot to me that she reached out to offer her support and her prayers for good people of Pennsylvania. Here's the last thing I want to say, and I'll turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor. This kind of violence isn't okay. We need to do better as a society. We need to help the people who think that picking up a gun, picking up a weapon is the answer to resolving disputes. We need to do better when it comes to mental health. We need to do better when it comes to looking out for those who are in need, so we don't have to deal with tragedies like this. We got to do better as a society. I know everybody up here believes that, and everybody up here works hard to do that every day. I just think as a community, it's time for us to work hard to heal from this and to make sure that those whose lives were lost today, that something constructive can come from that in their memory that stops this kind of violence in the future, that protects those people that put on those uniforms for us, that makes it so these trauma surgeons don't have to patch this many people up. We got to do better as a society. I know we're all committed to doing that work. We've got to do even more. Now's the time for this community to come together and to do this important work. And so on behalf of a grateful Commonwealth, I say to those who wear the uniform of law enforcement, thank you. To those who wear the uniform of healthcare, thank you. To the elected leaders up here, thank you for the work that you have done and know you will do to keep our community safe. And to Colonel Paris and the entire team at the Pennsylvania State Police, I know you will have every resource you need to make sure that this investigation is conducted fully and thoroughly, and that whatever steps need to be taken will. May God bless York County and the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. May God bless and watch over those families that are suffering right now. Lori and I join you in prayer, and I think prayer is a particularly important thing at this moment here in York County and all across Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Governor. I share your thoughts and prayers for the officers that were lost today, the officers who were injured, and every law enforcement person across this great Commonwealth. We are unfortunately here again in York County because of gun violence, the issue that brought me to public service. I want everyone to know today is not just a devastating day for this community in this region, it's a devastating day for our entire Commonwealth. My wife Blair and our entire family join in the prayers of, I believe, 13 million Pennsylvanians who are praying for the officers and their families today. You know, we ask a lot of police officers in our communities, and they always run towards danger. I think we all have a responsibility to continuously do our part to make our community safer. I know I'm going to continue to do my part, and we are consistently grateful for the commitment and the sacrifice that our law enforcement officers make. We're grateful for the healthcare professionals who run towards danger to aid folks in their time of need, and we're so grateful for the work that they've done today. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Carney from WellSpan Health, who will provide an update from the medical perspective.
So we received 2 gunshot wound victims from the scene. We immediately took them to the OR. They are both in critical but stable condition currently. Trauma centers are a resource for the community. We're here when you need us, and we enjoy the support of both the local government, state government, and our administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So at this point, I would open it up to a few brief questions, however, prefacing that with the fact that the information we can provide is extremely limited.
Colonel, can you?
Sir.
Did you say this was the officers involved are from Northern New York?
I did not say, and that was intentionally done so. Obviously, we know who they are and who they work for. Our concern is that there are some investigative steps that we're taking right now, and at the request of the district attorney, we're withholding that information.
You know what the district attorney plans to release?
I've spoken to District Attorney Barker. I know there are a lot of things going on right now, but at some point, I know he will brief the media. Sir.
The circumstances surrounding while those officers were there was they were serving a warrant of some sort of PFA?
So they were there to follow up on an investigation that began yesterday. The general heading of that investigation, I would say, would be domestic related. But beyond that, the facts and circumstances, we have more information, but pending the search warrants that we're currently typing up and serving, we want to hold that information any more specificity.
You see which department they were with, the officers?
No, I did not. So we're going to, at this point, say that the 5 law enforcement officers in York County, and we're going to leave it there, and I'm going to defer to the district attorney, Tim Barker.
I just want to be clear. So there were 5 law enforcement shot, 3 of them killed, 2 in critical here in this hospital, but then the shooter was also killed. Is that the number?
Correct. Those numbers are correct, sir.
Are there any other suspects involved?
At this point, we believe that the community is safe, but we're leaving no stone unturned, and we're going to run every lead down. But
Law enforcement on the scene?
I don't have that for you.
Do you know if SWAT was called in?
I'm not prepared to release that. Like I said, I'll defer to the district attorney. Sir?
Have we heard anything as far as weapons or what exactly happened when they arrived?
No. I mean, we have, but not that I can confirm with any specificity that I would be concerned we would have to backtrack on later. So very much processing a large scene. I will confirm that it is a large scene. Members of the PSP Forensic Services Unit are down there mapping it right now. It's still very much an active scene. It is secure, and we believe, just to reiterate, there's no threat to the community.
We do a couple more questions here. Was he shot by police or did he shoot himself?
He was shot by police.
Can you confirm the address or the block number of the scene?
No, not at this time.
Governor, can I get your thoughts on earlier today you were in Chester trumpeting the fact that violent crime had actually been reduced there. How you would sum up your day after that, and then here you are now.
Well, look, this isn't about me or my emotions. I think this is just about a grieving community, and I wanted to be here with this community. I want law enforcement to know how much we care about them and respect them. I want this hospital team to know how much they matter in this community. And most importantly, I want these families to know that we're all grieving with them and praying for them and that they're not alone. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Once again, the latest briefing from officials there in Pennsylvania as an apparent attempt to serve a warrant in York County, Pennsylvania, Codorus Township specifically, ended with 3 law enforcement officers dead and 2 wounded. We're told the 2 surviving officers are in critical condition, but they are considered to be medically stable. Suspect in this case is dead, and of course you heard there a lengthy investigation to come. We'll keep you updated as we learn more here on Live Impact News. Meantime, we've got a couple of feeds we're following. When we come back after our quick break here, we might be checking in with a couple. So we have, of course, as we kind of prefaced earlier in the afternoon, here on Live Impact, the President and First Lady overseas in the UK at a state banquet at Windsor Palace. We know the president spoke there, so we hope to bring you some of that footage. We also have back here in the Charlotte area, big topic of discussion, which is transit. So that is going to be in the forefront of folks' minds, of course, as we talk about public safety, the recent stabbing of Irina Zarutska on the light rail. Our Nate Morbido has uncovered, in the wake of Zarutska's death, some concerning incidents that have continued to happen on the light rail. We also have the mayor's response and hopefully an update from one of our reporters working on a transit meeting coverage for us tonight. But all that to come in just a couple of minutes. We also have a feed that's probably on the lighter side. Are you popping it up, James, because we think something cool is about to happen here?
Nope, I'm just
want to check in.
Checking in. But we will zoom this picture out and show you what's happening at Charlotte Motor Speedway maybe after we take a short break.
Okay, there's a 5K of some sort that's happening there, and we think there might be some fun things to see. So if we see anything, we'll try to bring that. We always try to have a little bit of levity here if we can.
I was going to say, that's what we call a tease.
Yes. We don't know when it's going to happen, but there could be something interesting to see. All right, folks, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stick with us here, please. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. We mentioned that we've been keeping an eye on Charlotte Motor Speedway and one of our feeds, so we want to show that to you right now. Looks like there's some sort of 5K that's happening, a big event. Folks have been walking around. It looks like not only the track, but there's some activity happening in the infield and maybe a concert.
I would say they're just crazy enough, Vanessa, to give me control over the camera.
Oh, no.
So if I get logged in here, we can get a closer look at what's happening on the stage.
Well, our producer James gets logged into his control over the camera there at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Yeah, how did that happen? Well,
shout out to our engineering team because we have a great network of weather impact
we
cameras.
We appreciate it.
And they just got this one back online.
Fantastic. All right.
And so it looks like they're maybe setting up for something here on the stage. Now, this is the infield, right? So you can see like pit road, and you can see
a keyboard.
I
Right?
think the lights just went out.
Okay.
Which is our great tease, because a rumor is that there might be fireworks. So if that happens before 9 o'clock, we'll try to bring them to you.
That would be really, really cool. All right. And the good news is we control the camera.
I can control the camera.
We've got the feed here. We'll watch it in the background. So hopefully some folks are enjoying a nice evening out.
It's a great night to be out.
I think so. It's been pretty comfortable, on the temperature front as far as the evenings go. I know during the day it's been on the toastier side. I say that, it's all relative, but we got a taste of fall, and it's just like when the, potential 90s maybe come back. I don't want to ruin any surprises in the forecast.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
It's just not going to feel great. But anyways, I digress. Let's go ahead and check in with our latest weather impacts, our updated forecast for today and beyond.
And of course, we have a whole wealth of Helene coverage coming up next week. I actually went up to Lake Lure in recent days. I'll have some different angles than what Miles covered, but essentially 1 million cubic yards of debris and silt removed from Lake Lure, the lake itself. They say that crews worked 7 days a week, 12-hour days since last October. To get to that point. They still have work to do, but they're getting close.
Yeah, a lot of times, Brad, these communities are fronting that money, hoping to be reimbursed by the federal government at some point.
Yeah, and remember, they're losing all their tourism season. That lake has not been usable since before Helene, so they lost the fall season, the winter season, and the all-important summer season because there's no water for anyone to boat in. So hopefully we'll get that refill going by next spring, and the goal is to be open going into next summer at Lake Lure. We've got beautiful weather here, just kind of warm. Temperatures pushing 90 degrees the next few days. No significant rain in the tropics. They're beginning to heat up. Just a quick heads up for sky watchers. If you're up early tomorrow morning, might want to take a gander off to the east-southeast because we've got a Falcon 9 launch. It's a Starlink mission. The window opens at 5:30 a.m. Now sunrise is until 7:07 a.m. And sometimes if the timing works out perfectly, you can get a really good view of that pre-sunrise vapor trail. So it's certainly worth a view, especially for an early riser tomorrow. And if you do see something crazy in the eastern sky, it's not a comet, it's not aliens, it will be a rocket launch going up the East Coast. Lows tonight falling back into the low 60s. It will be a warm start to the day. Temperatures will be pushing upper 80s by the afternoon. Low pressure moves away. Clouds could be a little bit of an issue in the morning, but I do expect mostly dry conditions, but we're going to have a small rain chance the next couple of days, only 20%. Saturday might be our best chance of rain as we see dew points kind of hovering here in the low 60s and upper 50s, but by next week, dew points could jump pretty significantly. You see the rain chance there on Saturday, 40%. I know we're getting excited for that. That's not a huge chance, but that's the best we've had in about 2 weeks. The overall amount of rain looks to be light. They're going to be really isolated, so quarter inch or less. If you get lucky to get some rain, count your blessings because most of us are going to be bone dry. Speaking of the tropics, Gabrielle formed this morning. Again, this is the 7th storm of the season. Moving up to the north, not expected to be any impact to the United States. Bermuda, the only area we're watching for possible impacts. All the guidance and the steering currents recurving this storm out to sea. The trough over the East Coast, the dry weather for us keeps everything away. But 2 more tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa as we're starting to get more activity in the Atlantic. Worth watching here. Remember, activity stays high all the way through the end of October. The season runs through the end of November. Your weekend forecast, yeah, we've actually got a 40% chance of rain on Saturday, probably a pop-up storm, but Sunday, mid-80s. Here's a look at your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. A warm stretch of weather, kind of a late summer push here as we go into autumn. 10-day forecast shows mild air right through next week. We'll be right back.
And we will remain here on Live Impact News as we are seeing yet another feed here coming into our newsroom. Of course, over recent days, we've been seeing a lot of vigils across the nation for late conservative activist Charlie Kirk. We're seeing another one that our affiliate is at right now in Minnesota. We're told this is in Eden Prairie, so the Minneapolis area. Now, we know at a lot of these vigils, there have been speakers. James, I don't know if you're hearing any of the audio. Sometimes we have great audio, sometimes not. It looks like we're getting the thumbs up. Shall we listen in for a little bit?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a listen into this, Vanessa.
Okay.
Out our ideals, live out forgiveness, and truly live out what it's like to live a life that's honoring you. I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. And thank you.
Thank you, Logan. I just really like what you said about building, and I liked everything you said, but we can build faster than they can destroy. We have two more people who are going to speak, and then we'll sing Amazing Grace, and then have a moment of silence, and then, but the next person is, just before I introduce him, when I got the ball rolling for this last Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday. By Sunday night, I realized what I was getting myself into, and I was terrified. But Monday morning, I talked to this man, and all of my fear went away. He knew exactly what to say. I don't know how he did it. But that's why we're doing these vigils, is because there are people out there with that gift. And so Dr. Scott Jensen is a practicing physician. He's a practicing physician. He's a very important member of our community, and I just want to welcome him and give him the mic. And
Vanessa Rufus here in the Live Impact News studio. I know some of you are familiar with our format here. This is a live, unedited feed. Sometimes we have photographers on scene. They kind of move the camera around to get different shots. They're zooming in, they're zooming out. We're not in control of that. We just want to let any new viewers here on the stream know this format. Once again, we don't like to edit anything if we can help it. So with that, it looks like the shot is back in place. We'll listen back into this vigil for Charlie Kirk.
4 verse 14 in Exodus, where it says, God's anger smoldered. 50 years ago, I struggled with those 2 verses because I was in the seminary and I felt like I wasn't in the place I should be. And I thought, if I leave the seminary, I'm denying 4:14 in Exodus, where God says, I've got a job for you and I want you to do it. And you remember, Moses said, no thanks, I'm not the guy, maybe you could talk to someone else, and God got ticked. And then you advance to Esther 4:14, and you got Mordecai sending the message. Have you considered you're in the position you're in for such a time as this? Well, that's where Charlie Kirk comes in. I would never have had a chance to be with Charlie on Zoom and podcast and hear him berate the Minnesota Vikings for not winning a Super Bowl. It were not for that. And that was one of the first things he said to me. But he said, seriously, Scott, he said, I have a fond spot in my heart. I remember leaving the seminary and thinking, it's up to me to live my faith in the world of medicine. And there have been times that I have been asked to do that I would have just as soon not. I remember the night at midnight learning that there was a broken body at the bottom of a hotel that had traveled 18 stories, and it was an unidentified body. And as a physician, and as the person whose name was in the pocket of his body, I was called to go to Hennepin County Morgue and identify that body. And I remember thinking that the years in the seminary strengthened me so that I was able to look at that body and say, yes, that is my brother. My years in the seminary prepared me for Esther 4:14, and I have been to more wakes and funerals than I ever would have thought. But I have to tell you, Charlie Kirk is just fine. He shed his carcass no differently than a butterfly sheds the cocoon. But he's okay, but we're not. And I'll tell you why we're not. Because as C.S. Lewis said, I have learned that sorrow is not a state of mind, it's a process. C.S. Lewis in the 1950s didn't know what that process exactly was, but a few decades later, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross had defined it for us. And she told us that it was all about denial and anger and bargaining and depression and finally acceptance. But we don't get to plod through these steps one by one. We keep sliding back 2 steps forward, 1 step backward, and we're just miserable. We know Charlie's okay. We worry about Erica and the children, but we're not okay because we understand that generationally we see once in a while someone with the spirit of Charlie Kirk. And that's why we're angry, because we wanted more of him, and we don't get that. When I was a teenager in the 1960s, something similar to this happened to me. There was a guy who wrote a speech, and he knew how to touch hearts. And that guy was killed. And his name was Martin Luther King Jr. And I want to tell you of some of the words that he said in a speech he gave. He said, in his famous speech, I have a dream. He said, it would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. And if we overlook the urgency of this moment, it would be a fatal flaw for us. He went on to say, I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that all men are created equal. And Martin Luther King went on to say this, this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning, my country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all God's children will be able to join hands and sing, free at last, thank God Almighty, free at last. Charlie Kirk was the ultimate seeker. And I want you to remember one thing about my comments tonight. I want you to remember the parable of the Wizard of Oz, because there was another seeker that we learned about a long time ago. Her name was Dorothy. And if you think of the way Dorothy walked this earth, she never told her friends that she had the answers. She told her friends, I am going to seek. I am going to seek a way to get back home. And we all know here what home is. And it's not the planet Earth. But when she came across the scarecrow, she didn't promise the scarecrow a brain. She promised him a companion on the journey to find that which he seeks. And when she came across the Tin Man, she didn't promise him a heart. She said, come join us and seek with us. And when she came across the lion, it was the same thing. Come seek with us. And that's what Charlie did. When he had people on his program, when he confronted people gently and with empathy, he was not only seeking for himself, he was helping others seek. And that's why we're here tonight. We seek the solace and the companionship and the connection with one another. Ultimately, you know how it was that Dorothy ultimately found what she sought for. She said those famous words that Charlie would tell us right now tonight. She said, there's no place like home. And Charlie is telling us tonight, in one way or another, he is home. He's waiting for us. We're okay. But in the meantime, we've got a little work to do. And if you want to know what the work looks like, it's 4:14 once again. Go to the book of Ephesians where it says, we need not be like children blown to and fro by the winds of cunning men, schemes, and ideas. We can be better than that. And then you have to go sometime in the next few days to the last 4:14 for you. And that is Hebrews. And in Hebrews, it says it unequivocally, just a few words. Hold fast to the beliefs you profess. That's why we're here together tonight, folks. Thank you.
one of several speakers expected tonight at this vigil in Eden Prairie, Minnesota for late conservative activist Charlie Kirk. We want to remind folks, in case you missed it in earlier newscasts as we were letting you know about our coverage to come, we will have Charlie Kirk's memorial streaming live for you Sunday at 1 o'clock. Of course, that's happening in Phoenix. And not only will we have the memorial service for you, we'll also be sharing contacts, perspective from our news team there, as well as community voices on the ground in Phoenix. So once again, make sure that you join us here on WCNC Plus for that coverage Sunday at 1 p.m. With that, we want to turn to some breaking news that we've been following this evening. Some of you might have gotten the push alert about this. If you subscribe to any sort of news agency, we've got push alerts to share as well. But we've learned tonight that Disney's ABC will be pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air. We're told this is going to be indefinitely, and this is following the host's comments about Mr. Kirk. Apparently, during a monologue on Monday night, Kimmel had raised the possibility that the suspect in this case might have been a pro-Trump Republican. I'm going to read a quote from that monologue. So this is what Mr. Kimmel said Monday. Quote, "The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." So that's an excerpt, once again, from Jimmy Kimmel's monologue Monday night. Now, there's been some backlash that led to this decision by ABC. Apparently, we have the Federal Communications Commission Chair, Brendan Carr, who had threatened to take action against Disney and ABC over Kimmel's remarks. And we also have separately Nexstar Media Group, which announced that it would, on its ABC affiliates, preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, starting with tonight's show. So once again, breaking news coming in tonight. ABC says that it will be pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely because of comments the host made during his monologue Monday night about late conservative activist Charlie Kirk. As we learn more information, we'll certainly bring that to you here on Live Impact News, but wanted to make sure that you got the breaking news of the evening. Folks, with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. As we mentioned, we have some coverage tonight of the Transit Commission meeting, of course, public safety rising to the forefront, and a WCNC Charlotte investigation discovering even more concerning incidents on the light rail following the deadly stabbing of Irina Zarutska almost a month ago on the Blue Line. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks, here to Live Impact News. We are getting straight to one of the big headlines over the last couple of weeks here for the Charlotte area, and that is safety on public transit, of course, really bubbling up to the forefront following the stabbing death of Irina Zarutska, Ukrainian refugee, on the Blue Line light rail train almost a month ago. And we are getting some new information tonight. We're going to start off with something that our Nate Morabito has put together here, looking basically over what we have now learned about the suspect in this case, DeCarlos Brown.
You can see these police reports here. They're shocking. Armed robbery, forcible fondling, a person bitten on both arms by another human being, all on or around Charlotte's light rail, all in the days and weeks after the random stabbing death of Irina Zarutska. Zarutska, of course, here from Ukraine, just headed home from work one night in August when she was randomly murdered while riding public transportation. These police reports are the result of crunching data identifying thefts, a sex crime, and assaults in the time after Zarutska's death, all as the city of Charlotte has promised increased security. So we have to ask, how safe do you feel on public transportation in Charlotte?
All right, so you heard, of course, that was our Nate Morabito talking about information that he had gathered in the wake of Irina Zarutska's death. The fact that there have been some incidents happening even after the city had promised more security and more protection for riders and for operators on those trains and buses. Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles weighing in here in response to Nate's findings here. You see her statement on the screen right now saying, in part, Charlotte's safety is one of our highest priorities, and I remain committed to working with anyone who shares that goal. As I've said before, no single organization or level of government can solve the challenges of violent crime on its own. Real progress takes partnership. She goes on to say, while we mourn Irina Zarutska's life, we must also act. We're taking steps to ensure our public transit system reflects a safe city for everyone. If we truly want to make lasting progress, both in the immediate future and over the long term, it will require a collaborative effort. So with that, we want to turn to our Tradisha Woodard, who is getting even more information tonight, because we understand that you went to the Transit Commission meeting as leaders were there talking about big topics, and you brought this up, right?
Mm-hmm. I spoke with the mayor recently after we received that statement, and she basically just echoed a lot of that statement, just saying that safety is a top priority for Charlotte. They're working on it. So today we got to get some of those updates from CATS. One of the things they say they're doing that's different, well, let me just piggyback. There were a few people to speak out during public hearing, everyone just echoing safety issues, saying they don't feel safe on public transit. What are we doing? I remember one person spoke out saying, how many more families are going to have to be hurt and impacted before we actually come up with a solid plan? So one of the things CATS talked about doing was implementing more staff. They say they have 20 CMPD officers that's going to be joining their security team that's going to be fully staffing the Blue Line. And I know that was a pretty big deal for folks because they would send me pictures and say, well, CATS says they're staffing up, but I commuted from A to B and C to D, and I haven't seen anybody. I don't feel safe. So they're hoping to boost that visibility by adding more officers. They also talked about adding more patrol cars, just more tightening and enhancing security with their specialized patrols, bikes, utility vehicles, all once again just to increase visibility so folks can know that we hear you and we are working to address some of these issues.
Now, I know the details seem to be still limited at this point. We've gotten a lot of national eyeballs on this story, all the way up to the president. I mean, we have folks in Congress talking about this. We're hearing that there's going to be some sort of congressional committee that's going to be either talking about this or in Charlotte. What have you learned about that?
Yeah, for sure. The House committee is going to be weighing on just crime in Charlotte towards the end of the month. And we actually brought that to Mayor Lyles as well, asking her thoughts about it. And she says, there's so much work to be done. And she says Charlotte's growing so much, and she just wants folks to know, because another big thing was communication. We haven't heard from you. We're looking for answers. Where are you? And she said they're going to work on communication, but she wants to let folks know that they're working on the safety issues, they're ironing out the kinks, and then as you mentioned, we will have some state lawmakers also weighing in later this month as well.
All right. So we know that you're putting together some of these elements for a piece coming up at 11 o'clock tonight. Anyone in particular we're going to hear from in addition to the mayor?
Yeah, so you're going to hear from the mayor, you're going to hear from the CATS teams, you're also going to hear from residents who spoke out about some of their concerns, and then you're going to get some more updates from CATS, more details about their plans ahead. Some of it happening now, some of it's going to be happening over the next week, some of it's going to be rolling out in October. So definitely something you want to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, Tradisha Woodard, thanks so much for joining us here on Live Impact. Folks can see Tradisha's piece coming up at 11 once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. James, you think we're time for a break? Yeah, I think
it is time for a break.
All right. Back in 2. Thanks so much for sticking with us here on Live Impact, folks. Welcome back, folks, to Live Impact News. As we kind of teased you with a little bit earlier in the hour, we've got some coverage, some footage to share from a very lavish state dinner that happened across the pond in UK, Windsor Palace. As we mentioned, President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, overseas meeting with various dignitaries, including the King and Queen there in the UK. So we want to bring you some coverage there of the dinner. We know that the King made some remarks, President Trump made some remarks, all in an effort to kind of highlight the relationship between the two countries. And we know that there's an economic angle to this too, as UK is hoping that they can secure some investments, ease tariffs, and really bolster the relationship between the two nations. Let's listen in.
Fueling our economies and cultures through myriad forms of exchange. We have celebrated together, mourned together, and stood together in the best and worst of times. Mr. President, as we approach the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence next year, it is remarkable to think just how far we have come. I cannot help but wonder what our forebears from 1776 would make of this friendship today. The rebel commander and pioneering first president, George Washington, famously vowed never to set foot on British soil. And my 5 times great-grandfather, King George III, for his part, did not spare his words when he spoke of the revolutionary leaders. Today, however, we celebrate a relationship between our two countries that surely neither Washington nor King George III could possibly have imagined. The ocean may still divide us, but in so many other ways we are now the closest of kin. Mr. President, you have spoken of your pride in your British roots. In fact, not only have you set foot on British soil twice in the last 2 months alone, but I understand that British soil makes for rather splendid golf courses. Now, for my part, I have always admired the ingenuity of the American people and the principles of freedom which your great democracy has represented since its inception. Throughout my life, from the very first visit to the United States in 1970, and over 20 visits since that time, I have cherished the close ties between the British and American peoples. In fact, had the media succeeded in the 1970s in their own attempt at deepening the special relationship, I myself might have been married off within the Nixon family. Mr. President, from York to New York, from Birmingham, England to Birmingham, Alabama, we are united by a common language and shared heritage. The many thousands of people from each of our countries who have made the other their home have enriched our societies immeasurably, a fact that gives me the greatest pride. Our cultural connections too continue to flourish, with our actors, musicians, writers and television presenters prospering in the hearts of transatlantic audiences. Today, our alliance spans every field of endeavour and shows vast potential for growth. The United Kingdom was your partner in the first trade deal of your administration, Mr. President, bringing jobs and growth to both our countries. And no doubt we can go even further as we build this new era of our partnership. Our two nations have an exceptional legacy of shared discovery. Together we laid the foundations of nuclear science, mapped the human genome, and built the internet, upon which all contemporary commerce, communication, and defense is based. Together, our scientists and engineers are shaping the world of tomorrow, not least with new partnership agreements on technology and the prosperity that stands to bring. Our countries have the closest defense, security, and intelligence relationship ever known. In 2 world wars, we fought together to defeat the forces of tyranny. Today, as tyranny once again threatens Europe, we and our allies stand together in support of Ukraine to deter aggression and secure peace. And our AUKUS submarine partnership with Australia sets the benchmark for innovative and vital collaboration. The successes of the British Redcoats and of George Washington's Continental Army today stand shoulder to shoulder, brothers and sisters in arms, protecting the freedoms we both cherish. Our countries are working together in support of crucial diplomatic efforts, not least of which, Mr. President, is your own personal commitment to finding solutions to some of the world's most intractable conflicts in order to secure peace. In striving for a better world, we also have a precious opportunity to safeguard and to restore the wonders and beauty of nature for the generations who follow us. We share the ambition and determination to preserve our majestic lands and waters, Above all, to ensure that we have clean water, clean air, and clean food. Our legacy for the next 250 years and beyond is to ensure that our children, grandchildren, and those who come after them can experience the awe and magnificence of the natural treasures found in the countryside, on the coasts, in the seas, and in the national parks established by your predecessors and mine. Mr. President, Mrs. Trump, the bond between our two nations is indeed a remarkable one. Forged in the fire of conflict, it has been fortified through our shared endeavors and burnished by the deep affection between our people. Tested time and again, it has borne the weight of our common purpose and raised our ambition for a better world. So, in renewing our bond tonight, we do so with unshakable trust in our friendship and in our shared commitment to independence and liberty. Therefore, as we celebrate this unparalleled partnership, allow me to propose a toast to President Trump and the First Lady, and to the health, prosperity, and happiness of the people of the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Your Majesty, Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. And if you think about it, it's a lot of presidents, and this was the second state visit, and that's the first, and maybe that's going to be the last time. I hope it is, actually. But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country. For many decades, His Majesty the King has epitomized the fortitude, nobility, and the spirit of the British monarchy and the British people. He's dedicated himself to preserving the glory and unique character of this kingdom, restoring life to the rivers and streams, supporting the works of its artists and composers, planting trees and gardens in its countryside. And I just visited one of the most beautiful I've ever seen that you just completed, and protecting the architectural integrity of cities, villages, and towns. He has uplifted the poor, cared for rural farmers, and tended to wounded veterans like nobody else. I'll tell you that I just stood in line and shook about 150 hands. And the king knew every single person and every single company, and some of them had bad names like XYZ-Q3, and he knew every one of them, or at least I think he did, because nobody was complaining. I was very impressed with that. But I just want to say that His Majesty has also raised a remarkable son in His Royal Highness Prince of Wales. Really amazing. We've gotten to know you, and I think you're going to have an unbelievable success in the future. Melania and I are delighted to visit again with Prince William and to see Her Royal Highness Princess Catherine, so radiant and so healthy, so beautiful. It's really a great honor. Thank you. Many years ago, His Majesty opened his archives to a biographer. Among the documents was a letter from 1993 in which he described the patriotism and guided his many projects. He wrote that he was, quote, entirely motivated by a desperate desire to put the great back into Great Britain. In the finest tradition of British sovereigns, he has given his whole heart, everything he's got, to those parts of Britain that are beyond the realm of mere legislation. It's not easy, but which define its essence and its virtue, its harmony, and its soul. It's an amazing calling, and there's nobody that's answered that calling like you have. A fifth of all of humanity speaks, writes, thinks, and prays in the language born on these isles and perfected in the pages of Shakespeare and Dickens and Tolkien, and Lewis, Orwell, and Kipling. Incredible people, unbelievable people like we have rarely seen before, probably won't see again. The lion-hearted people of this kingdom defeated Napoleon, unleashed the Industrial Revolution, destroyed slavery, and defended civilization in the darkest days of fascism and communism. The British gave the world the Magna Carta, the modern parliament, and Francis Bacon's scientific method. They gave us the works of Locke and Hobbes, Smith and Burke, Newton and Blackstone. The legal, intellectual, cultural, and political traditions of this kingdom have been among the highest achievements of mankind. There's really never been anything like it. The British Empire laid the foundations of law, liberty, free speech, and individual rights virtually everywhere the Union Jack has ever flown, including a place called America. You know that place very well, don't you? His Majesty spoke eloquently about the bond which inspired Sir Winston Churchill, and the bust is in the Oval Office right now, the beautiful bust of Winston Churchill, to coin the phrase special relationship. But seen from American eyes, the word special does not begin to do it justice. We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry, and destiny. We're like two notes in one chord, or two verses of the same poem, each beautiful on its own, but really meant to be played together. The bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It's irreplaceable and unbreakable, and we are, as a country, as you know, doing unbelievably well. We had a very sick country 1 year ago, and today, I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, nobody's even questioning it, but we owe so much of that to you and the footing that you gave us when we started. Together, we've done more good for humanity than any two countries in all of history. Together, we must defend the exceptional heritage that makes us who we are, and we must continue to stand for the values and the people of the English-speaking world, and we do indeed stand for that. On behalf of all Americans, I offer a toast to one of the great friendships, to two great countries, and to His Majesty, King Charles III, a very, very special man, and also a very, very special queen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you.
Once again, folks, you were listening into some remarks from, you just heard most recently, President Trump, and also we heard from King Charles. This was a state banquet where we have the President and First Lady Melania Trump. They are meeting with various dignitaries in the UK at Windsor Palace. So we'll bring you more on those developments as we get information. But we heard in those speeches a lot of discussion about the close ties between the two nations. And we know there's an economic angle in the sense that we know the UK is really trying to soften the tariff situation. So with that, we want to get back to Charlotte Motor Speedway because we've been popping in and out. James, are you vibing to the music?
I'm dancing to music I can't hear, but
Yes.
It looks like they're having a great time.
We can kind of tell based on the lighting effects. There is some sort of concert underway following what we're told was an MRO Bump and Run 5K. So MRO is motor racing outreach, from what we understand. And we saw folks walking around the track there at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Allegedly, some fireworks to come later tonight. We don't know if that will be in the next couple of minutes here. Really, next couple of seconds, because our time here on Live Impact is coming up pretty soon.
We'll record it just in case.
Yeah, we'll record it for posterity. Regardless, looks like a pretty fun evening, and we've enjoyed kind of sneaking a peek inside at, the vibes, the dancing. Look at that. After all that walking and running, they still have all the energy. More power to them. All right, that's it for Live Impact, folks. Join us for the news at 11.